Hello, and welcome to this explainer. Before we jump in, I'd actually love to invite you to just do something really simple with me. Just take a slow, deep breath in and let it out. Today, we're going to gently explore the science behind our digital habits. We'll specifically look at how all that stuff we consume online literally interacts with our own anatomy. So let's dive in. We're looking at a deeply modern phenomenon, one that, well, you're probably intimately familiar with. And we'll do this by zooming in on what's actually happening right inside our own minds.
Which brings us to a rather profound question. Why can't we just look away? You definitely know the feeling, that seemingly endless scroll of distressing news. It's an experience we commonly call doomscrolling. And, if you've been there, you know it can truly feel like this heavy, inescapable compulsion. Like you're just being pulled deeper and deeper into this cycle of total information overload. And what's so fascinating and honestly incredibly frustrating is that even when our conscious mind genuinely wants to put down the phone, there's this undeniable impulse that just keeps us reaching right back for it.
Now, psychologists actually have a name for this. They call it the information overload compulsion. And I think it's so important to just validate what's happening to us here. When you find yourself completely caught in that endless scroll, absolutely unable to tear your eyes away from the latest distressing headline, I want you to know this is absolutely not a personal failure. Not at all. This powerful impulse we feel to just keep looking, it's a profoundly human behavior. And as we're going to see, it's deeply, deeply wired into our brain's incredibly complex reward system.
And that brings us to a genuinely crucial piece of the whole puzzle: dopamine. Usually, right, when we hear the word dopamine, we instantly think of it as the pleasure chemical, like it's just about feeling good. But we really need to reframe that understanding today. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is critically involved in motivation, in learning, and in the actual pursuit of rewards. Think of it more like an engine of seeking rather than just a fleeting feeling of joy. It's the exact chemical that drives us to figure out and understand the environment around us.
And what's truly fascinating is how this ancient dopamine drive collides with our modern digital lives. When we're online and we stumble across something new, something interesting, or maybe something alarming, which, let's be honest, happens constantly in our feeds, our brain instantly reacts. It releases this little surge of dopamine. Essentially, your brain is actively rewarding you just for locating something novel and potentially concerning in your environment.
Let's just sit with what that chemical release is actually doing for a second. It's signaling to your body that this piece of information, it might actually be important for your survival. This is a direct, tangible link to our evolutionary history. We all have this inherent, built-in drive to constantly monitor our surroundings for threats. Back in the day, noticing alarming things is literally what kept us alive. But today, that exact same ancient survival drive is being hijacked by the glowing screen right in front of us.
Let's gently walk through how this creates such an incredibly potent feedback loop. So, step 1, we encounter some new information, maybe a distressing headline. Step 2, our brain hits us with that dopamine release, basically flashing a sign saying, hey, this is important for our survival. And step 3, fueled entirely by that chemical motivation, we just keep scrolling to find more. The nonstop novelty of the digital world, it completely overrides our natural threat monitoring system, and it builds a cycle that is, frankly, incredibly difficult to break out of.
And this loop, it gets reinforced all day long through something called the microdose effect. Just think about your own daily habits for a moment. Every single swipe of the thumb, every new headline that grabs your attention, every little ping or notification that pops up. Each one of these tiny, almost thoughtless actions offers a microdose of dopamine. And this constant, repetitive microdosing heavily, heavily reinforces the behavior, cementing that intense compulsion to just keep checking, keep swiping, and keep scrolling.
So here is the really crucial part. What actually happens to us when this loop just runs continuously? Well, over time, all this repeated stimulation does something pretty profound. It can actually begin to subtly reshape the delicate balance of our own dopamine pathways. Our very internal wiring starts to shift, adapting to this constant, overwhelming fire hose of digital novelty and alarming news. I want you to picture the stark contrast between these two states. On the one hand, you have the natural, quiet balance of our dopamine pathways, a state beautifully attuned to the slow, natural pace of the physical world. But then, on the other hand, we have our modern reality, this state of ultra-high-intensity, completely fragmented input. Because of that repeated microdosing from our screens,
Our brains are literally, physically becoming accustomed to this high-speed, chaotic stream of data. The extraordinary and the alarming, they just become our new normal. Which brings us to one final thought for today. If our brains are truly reshaping themselves, if they're actively adapting to this high-intensity, fragmented input of constant novelty and distress, well, how do we ever find balance again? I just want to leave that question hanging in the air for a moment. Take another slow, deep breath, and just allow yourself a little bit of quiet space to reflect on how your own beautiful brain might be adapting to that screen in your hand. We're going to explore all of this much further in part 2. But for now, thank you so much for taking this time for yourself to understand the science behind your digital habits.
Welcome to this explainer on the resilient brain. Before we even dive into this topic together, let's just take a really deep, mindful breath.
So, have simple, quiet activities kind of lost their joy lately? I really want you to reflect on that for a moment. Have you noticed this persistent restlessness recently? Or maybe a diminished capacity to just sit and focus? If you're nodding your head right now, I want to gently validate that experience for you. As our source material reveals, this whole pattern of seeking and receiving rapid-fire information, well, it has a very real, tangible effect on our biology. It's incredibly common right now, and honestly, it has a fascinating neurological explanation. Our anchor for today's explainer is this really beautiful fact. Your brain is remarkably plastic. Now, neuroplasticity just means your mind is highly capable of physical change. In fact, research shows that neural pathways can literally begin physically altering their connectivity in just a matter of days when they're exposed to new behavioral patterns. So whatever restlessness you might be feeling right now, it's really not permanent. Your brain is quite literally designed to shift and adapt to its environment. Let that reassuring thought just sit with you for a second. You are completely capable of structural, functional change. And our source material offers this incredibly powerful, non-judgmental perspective on this shift. It notes that this doesn't mean the system is broken, but rather that it has adjusted to a new baseline. When we find ourselves mindlessly doom-scrolling, right, it's so easy to feel like something is fundamentally wrong with us. But our brains were not broken by the information age, not at all. They've simply done exactly what they evolved to do. They adapted to the environment we put them in. Underneath all of that adaptation is a biological process called desensitization. You see, our dopamine system evolved for a natural world, a world with varied but largely infrequent high-reward stimuli. But when we engage in sustained high-frequency stimulation, like, say, scrolling through endless, highly curated digital feeds, our neural pathways adapt by essentially turning down the volume. The brain begins to actively downregulate its dopamine receptors, so it now requires much more intense or much more frequent stimuli just to achieve the exact same level of satisfaction it used to easily get from, say, a simple walk outside. Think of your dopamine pathways almost like blending watercolors. Under constant digital stimulation, those pathways shift their density and their hue. Your original baseline recalibrates to a completely new, elevated one. Your brain now literally expects this constant flood of high-intensity information just to feel normal. And that is exactly why the quieter, simpler moments suddenly feel agonizingly slow or difficult, or just kind of devoid of joy. Your brain is simply operating on this new, artificially elevated baseline. But remember, our anchor from a few moments ago, the brain is remarkably plastic. And because of that structural flexibility, we can actively reestablish a balanced rhythm. We don't need harsh detoxes or extreme isolation or any kind of aggressive urgency here. The path back to that original calm baseline is paved with very gentle, accessible lifestyle adjustments. Healing our attention is really simply about slowly stepping back onto a quieter path, signaling to the brain that, hey, the environment has changed again. The absolutely crucial point here is exactly how we make those adjustments. It all comes down to implementing gentle daily practices. Reducing your scroll frequency, seeking out analog, calming activities, fiercely prioritizing your sleep, and engaging in mindful practices. These aren't rigorous demands or strict rules you have to follow. They are just gentle invitations to give your dopamine receptors a much-needed rest. By consciously choosing these softer inputs, we prove to our brain that it is, in fact, safe to lower its baseline once more. And these gentle adjustments can so easily build into a manageable, soothing daily rhythm. Step 1 is just gently reducing the doom scrolling. Notice the word gently there. We're aiming for a gradual taper, right? Not a sudden, shocking stop. Step 2 is actively seeking calm. Now, this could be a slow walk, some gentle stretching, or honestly, just observing the natural light in your room. And step 3 is prioritizing restful sleep. By fostering relaxed breathing and honoring our natural sleep cycles, we actively facilitate the brain's physical ability to heal and naturally reset its dopamine receptors overnight. I also want to add a deeply supportive note drawn directly from our source material here. If concerns about your overall well-being, your mood, or your capacity to focus persist over time, consulting a medical professional or a mental health expert is a wonderfully safe and empowering step to take. There is absolutely no judgment in seeking help. A professional can provide personalized guidance and support tailored exactly to what your unique neurochemistry needs to find its balance again. We've covered some truly beautiful, grounding concepts today about just how physically adaptable and resilient our minds truly are. So I want to leave you with this final, thought-provoking question to reflect on. What small, consistent step will you take today to foster a sense of calm and trust within yourself? You absolutely do not have to change everything all at once. Just one small, gentle step, perhaps just taking one more mindful breath before you pick up your phone, can make a truly meaningful difference. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Take your time, be gentle with yourself, and I will see you next time.
We explore the hidden mechanisms of sleep, stress, and nutrition to help you build an automated system for lifelong energy.